Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
I ain't got no melody. I'm gonna sing it to my friend.
Here we go, Godfrey. You were the first official candidates interview for Godfrey this year. We're going to get ready for
Look
it.
at that. Thank you for having me on.
You know, it's
you do a ton for it. I love it. So,
well, this is really cool. I mean, well, number one, everyone that is already burnt out of elections, one more to go. One more to go in April. Craig Lombardi, a current trustee, decided a couple of days ago to decide to run for mayor. And before we go into any of that, been very active in the community in multiple fronts with the Athletic Association, other projects. Just take us through a little bit of who Craig Lombardi is.
Well, I appreciate it, as always. You know, I'm probably one of the biggest fans being in media, and I love what you do. So, and John. So a little bit about Craig Lombardi. I've been in Godfrey 56 years. I was probably the luckiest guy in the world. I was raised by my mother and my brother. My brother was probably one of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life. He was kind of like my father figure, and my mother is the greatest person I've ever met in my life. She is the strongest, most faith-oriented person, and that's kind of how I feel, how I got to the place where I am. I owe everything to her. She put everything on hold for us because she raised us, and then she married Dr. Brown, who was the love of her life for 28 years until he passed. He was basically my father figure. So we grew up in Godfrey. I went to St. Ambrose, then I went to Alton High. I went to, arguably, I say it all the time, Lewis and Clark is probably one of the best community colleges
100%.
ever.
100%.
We just take it for granted. I played soccer and baseball. I had a scholarship there. Then I went to SIU. People laugh. I was an industrial engineer. I was top of my class. Couldn't find a job when I came out, and then got a job at a place called Fastenal. Ran that for 10 years. And I met probably my rock, my wife. She is everything. Everybody probably knows her
She's
better
a rock
than anybody.
star, yeah.
She's been with Alton School District forever. She's IT. She's been doing that. She also owns Barty Boy Design, but she's head of Alton Athletic Department or association, and just does everything. And then I had 3 great kids, but my life changed right after I left Fastenal. I fell in love with radio and media, and I got very fortunate. Kathy Hendricks, who's from Godfrey, gave me my chance, and 25 years later, that's where I'm at. So
That's incredible. Well, and I honestly, as known you as long as I have, I didn't realize you had that diverse of a background, because, you know, sometimes media people kind of start out as a weekend board op and just kind of, you know, stay there. Do you think having the different Fastenal and the different organizations, plus just the way you grew up, do you think that kind of helped you in media? Because it's a whole different ballgame in St. Louis media.
here's the best. I'm glad you asked that question, because it is the funniest of all time. Anybody who knows me, and that's why I think I will make a great mayor, is because I am the most competitive. I have been successful in everything that I've done. Literally, when I went to get this job at media, I had to go in for 10 interviews. 10 interviews. I drove over to St. Louis.
This was when radio was real.
And they said, no.
No way.
And I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, because when I want something, I'm gonna push for it. 10th interview, Kathy Hendricks says to me, Craig, they don't want you because you don't have a marketing degree. And I walked in and I said, because I don't have a marketing degree, you don't think that I can make it? And I go, you're wrong. And why I say this is funny is because they hired me, and for 25 years straight, I don't like to always talk about myself, but I have been the top rep, or one of, if not the top rep, every year for 25 years. So I always make fun. I'm like, I guess I could do this. So,
well,
anyway.
it's a good point on that, because you know this better than I do, obviously, but media is relationships, this whole sales process. It's, 9 times out of 10 when I was in it, we didn't care who had the cheaper rate. We cared about our relationship and what that meant for the radio station I worked for at the time, and then that client. Do you think that whenever, 20 years later, you've watched industry change in media like crazy, from the technological advancements to the digital age and the HD channels and all of that was getting thrown in? How was it ever difficult for you to stay on the current trends with this, or, and riding that wave? I'm different in nature. Yeah.
I don't ever stop. So I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to do different things. You know, you're exactly right. This is why I love this community is because, you know, not just because I'm on here. We talk about this a lot. Like, you're great at what you do. John's great at what he does. Actually, Nick down the street. Like, we have some great local people, and that's what Alton and Godfrey is. It is great relationships, and I love that. I love that part of the media. And I deal with all business owners every day of my life. And, you know, I can equate that to being a mayor because I go in, I get a game plan, we execute, and that's what we go forward. So anyways.
So on top of that, I mean, I remember you walking DeAdrian the first time you were running for office as trustee. And, you know, it seemed like you were off to a great start with your petitions. What led up to, you know, saying it's time to maybe pursue that big seat? It's time to pursue that mayoral seat. Was there a conversation you had with yourself, or was it with family? Honestly,
I love that. Hopefully I don't go on too long with this, but there is a story to it. I love and respect Ben Allen. I've always been fascinated. He kind of built Grafton. I mean, like, kind of, yeah. And so we would talk, and he said, "Hey, Craig, if you're really interested, you got to go to these meetings." So for a year, I went to all the trustee or the board meetings for a year. I wasn't a trustee at the time, and I was really interested. They had great conversations. This is when they had Virginia Biley and Ben Allen also on there with the current. And I said I would really like to do it. I became a trustee, and I love it. We have Mike Fisher, Sarah Woodman, Karen McAtee, Rick Lauschke's great. But I honestly was the most fortunate because I had a guy named Jeff Weber who sat next to me, and I learned a ton. He is probably one of the smartest. So going to that, you know, I was like, I think Godfrey needs a fresh new perspective. I think it needs a game plan. And that's where I kind of came to that conclusion. I said, I think I can do a lot for this community of what I do and for Godfrey. And you know, people say, you know, you have to have growth to keep the younger families here, CJ. Like, and yeah, go ahead.
So I want to pause that real quick because that's where I wanted this second half of the conversation to go. And the reason being is there's so many things happening in this region, and I've had Corey on from Great Rivers and Routes and all these places, Woods River, Main Street, and we're talking about big things in sports tourism, what AI is doing now, and all of these opportunities. I want to hear your insights on that and a little bit more about the campaign. But it's 10 o'clock in downtown Alton. We'll break for top of the hour. More Daily Show after this.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox, innovation never felt so good.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Welcome back, 10:03. Man, this week flew by. It's wild that we're already getting into Christmas time, Craig.
It is Christmas time. It's always crazy.
I brought up sports tourism because it's really been a big topic on the show lately, and everyone kind of gets annoyed with me when I keep talking about the potential of revenue from these soccer tournaments that you and I have spent 10, 15 years traveling the country with Gallagher and all these places and seeing the impact. Baseball tournaments, volleyball, pickleball, all those things. Is there in your mind, do you think that there's a way to build off of this growth, especially with Godfrey? I mean, seeing Glazebrook develop the way it has and really encapsulate that sports portion of the village, that's really good to see too.
Well, you know my background, huge sports. But it's not always just about me. It's about, the people of Godfrey. Right. So if they're not looking into that, but I do know that's a very hot topic. We can get into in a minute why I wanted to become mayor, but you have to have these relationships. I kind of gotten, I think Corey Jobe is one that you always have to have a conversation with. John Keller, of course, but like Corey Jobe and Lewis and Clark, Dr. T. I got a meeting with these guys originally at the very beginning to start talking about the sports tourism. Now, does that mean, what does it look like? But this is what I'm talking about, of what I can do, and hopefully, because Corey and Dr. T and these relationships are what's going to bring Godfrey further in progress, different things of that nature. So I do think that that's on an initiative to look as far as growing Godfrey, but that comes with a lot of other things that come with it, like comprehensive plan and different things like that. So
with that being said, too, getting back into just Lewis and Clark a little bit, that's always kind of a talking point, not for the good, for the bad. Lewis and Clark, I think it's underrated so many times because anyone that's gone to Lewis and Clark and seen the benefits know that you could save a ton of money and get a really good jump on your education. Do you think if you are elected in April, what's that relationship look like with you and Lewis and Clark to maybe make it a little, make it more beneficial for everybody involved? Because there are a couple of facilities that are getting upgrades, what that tax revenue does to the economy, all of that good stuff.
Well, again, a lot of this is relationships, and you have to have these conversations. So, I have a great relationship with Dr. T over there. I call him Dr. T all the time, but and Lori. There are a lot that you can work with at Lewis and Clark to have these conversations, because it is it's a big part of Godfrey, and there might be grants available. You have no idea, but you have to have these conversations, but not just with them. It brings me back to the point of why I'm doing this. I think Godfrey needs growth, and I think it needs a fresh new set of eyes, and that is the most cliche or just broad text. And so people ask me, they're like, well, what does that even mean, Craig? What's your plan? And I would say this. First things first is you have a lot of smart leaders in this community you have to be talking to. Yeah. Like I said earlier, Jeff Weber, Ben Allen, you have John Keller, you have, Corey Jobe. More importantly is, you need to work with Alton.
Thank you.
I mean, Alton is your...
I never agree with candidates, but
here's the deal, is that is a huge thing that I think we're missing. But here's the thing. That does not mean Godfrey and Alton are together. Godfrey needs its own identity.
Yeah.
We are not going to be Alton, but you have to have these conversations, CJ. So first of all is we have these conversations with these relationships. Second of all, then you take these conversations, you make a comprehensive plan. We say right now we have a comprehensive plan. It's more of a wish list to me. And what I mean by that is you have to have action steps and execution. What are we going to be like in six months, a year, 5 years, and 10 years? Because if you don't have that, you cannot get businesses.
I want to follow up on that because that's a good point. And I'm going to ask that to every candidate. And people just I'm going to break the fourth wall here. But when we do candidate interviews, everyone gets the same amount of time and I ask the same general questions because that's how I feel like my bias. I'm never going to have my thoughts come out here. But I think the problem that, and people get so mad at me in Edwards Opie as I say this, they grew too fast and they did not grow the right way. There is corporations there are franchises, and it's great to look at, but it's not really the best case forward. And that's not just me. That's economists that look at that and go, it's the rents from where people were at 10 years ago to now. It's not sustainable for small business owners, only for franchises or some things going on there. How important is it to not just say, look at Edwardsville and look at these towns and go, well, we don't want to do that, but maybe take what they did to develop as quickly as they did, but do it in a way that's more of a responsible and not just a sprawled out, let's build where we can build and build with organization, you know?
Well, I love that because when people hear growth, sometimes they go like this. They get scared. They're like, 100%. We don't want to grow too much. We don't want to be like Edwardsville. Listen, I don't want to be like that. What I do want, though, you have to have growth. You have to have these young families coming in. I just was at Rotary. I look like, sorry if I look like stuff, but I was just building, doing the trees out there, which Rotary is a phenomenal organization. And it's getting older. How do you get the younger people in there? But anyways, it goes back to go ahead.
No. I want to follow, but it goes back to younger people, but you're right.
But here's the thing with my answer to that is you have to have a plan, CJ, and for Godfrey. And then you have to follow up with that. You have to work with the economic team. Mm-hmm. You have to work with the trustees. We have great trustees. We have to form this and say, what do we want in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. But here's the deal. If you don't have that, businesses are just going to be like, okay, what can you offer me? You have to court them. Yeah. I do that every day of my life. You have to show people why Godfrey is the best for their business. Doesn't mean retail always. Doesn't mean industrial. Could be housing, but we have to have that picture.
2 follow-ups to that because that's a good. You brought up Alton and having a working relationship.
Yep.
And I think my follow-up to that is simple. Sometimes people, and we see it here because there's no other clearer form than feedback than our Facebook comment lines sometimes on stories. And, sometimes it seems like cities do a really good job of bringing business in, but not a diverse set of businesses. So, you'll see, well, why are we getting another X, Y, and Z restaurant here? Why are we getting another, Applebee's when we already have 3 Applebee's in the area? Do you think there's a way for cities like Alton and Godfrey to work together and say, hey, we have a business coming in. We have 15 Mexican restaurants. I don't think it'll work on this corridor, but do you have a space for them that you could really make them successful? Do you think that would help a relationship for the region, or do you think it's more beneficial to kind of isolate that and say, no, we'll work with this business first?
You have to have those conversations. Those are hard conversations, but you have to have them. We don't have them. You have to listen. We have in Godfrey, you've got White Birch, you have Josephine's, 2 of the greatest places. I mean, those are awesome places. You have Baker and Hale, Roper's, Ranch House. You have some of the greatest places, but you have to be strategic on what do you think that we need, and we have conversations. Everything is conversations. So to answer that question, CJ, yes, you have to be talking. Does that mean that if a good hotel wants to come up here and they want to go in Alton, sometimes we may say, well, we would like that one. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Totally. That's what it's about.
We are still Godfrey, and I will still be Godfrey, but you have to have conversations. Yeah. I mean, look what they're doing. You can not like them or you like them. Alton Works is trying to do different things, and people are trying to do different things in Alton. I just think that I think we need to have growth in Godfrey. and that means a plan.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean
I
just
get you.
throwing it out there and anyway.
And
that's
following up on that too, it's part two of that was Godfrey's different than Alton in a geographical sense, because you have these beautiful suburban, suburbs that are built, these nice complexes and nice areas and neighborhoods, and then you have a very rural section of Godfrey that, it's not like those houses are bad or anything, but just infrastructure starts to get a little weaker as you get into those not unincorporated but more rural areas, and transportation for medical issues, survival flight, EMS, those things start to get a little bit hindered in delays and timing. Is there a way, and this is so early, but do you think there's a way to connect more of those residential areas to make it, where you can grow and not just be, Airport Road subdivision 10 miles down the road, and then you got to drive 5 miles into town? Do you see developments like that happening in rural areas of Godfrey?
Well, again, it all comes down to this. It's what the people want.
Okay. Yeah, fair. So very fair.
Godfrey, it's what people want. I do think that's hugely, very important. It's not about me.
Right.
This is about everybody. And I believe the trustees, we have great trustees that think the same way. And we've always had great trustees. But here's the thing. You have to get a professional, comprehensive plan in there. That's why I thought PGAV would be a great one. They've done great things. So you need a professional plan. But then the key is follow up and making plans going down in the future, because Godfrey is different than Alton. But how do you see it? And things change. I get it. But that's where if your eyeballs are on this all the time, then you can make those changes. So, that's what I'm really good at is, if you ask me what my vision is, I certainly have a vision of it, but I'm not a professional at this. We will have conversation with this comprehensive company, but you need to get that. And then you need to take action steps and move forward with it.
One of the another hot topic right now in Godfrey is the road developments. Mm-hmm. There is the roundabout that's getting ready to be put in, and we don't have to talk about who's in favor of what. But do you see more of those projects as a foreseeable thing, or is this going to be one of those going back to that comprehensive plan? Let's get a plan in place and let's see where we need improvements. Do you think those roundabouts were a good idea? That development's a good thing for Godfrey?
Well, that's a difficult one for me because I was
get it. No, it is a tough question.
I was never involved in that. I will. The only thing I will say this is, I understand both sides because it can get crazy there. But I will also say this: I live right there, so I'm going there probably 10 times a day. I never have a long wait at all. But I will say this to the whole situation is, if it could save one life, because I will tell you that light, I have never seen more people run through that red light every day. I almost saw somebody die a month ago because they fly through that light. So if the roundabout is maybe going to help save one person, again, I get where people are coming from, but that's an IDOT initiative. Right. So you sometimes have to play that game to have them continue to work with you in the future. People need to understand that also. Like, you have to work with the state because you're going to want something one of these days, and they're going to, you have to. Well, that was my
conversation with the Village a couple of years ago. Was that very same thing? As I get it, because if you say no to this money, then when are you going to get that opportunity again? So it's a give and take there. Whenever we're talking about IDOT and we're talking about these roads. I think it's really important for that speeding conversation, because I have gone absolutely ballistic on this show numerous times about what I think is just not only reckless driving, I think it's criminal behavior.
Yep.
Do you think, and we drive West Del Mar, I drive it all the time, and we might see a cop patrolling there, but very rarely have I ever seen that police officer pull somebody over and issue a speeding ticket. Do you think there's got to be more pressure, not on cops to do, pull speeders over, but just to be more active in those sectors? Because you see this tens of thousands of dollars being spent on speed limit signs, which are needed, but if no one's getting pulled over, they're just signs.
I would probably address that. Well, I would always address it, just so you know. Like, people also ask me, they're like, hey, what do you... As a trustee, I'm very hands-on right now. So I'm going to places all the time. And so I will take this into consideration. I didn't know that they weren't they weren't looking as much as grabbing these people. I do know that they do access. I live on Pierce. And they fly around there. It's crazy to see that. But
And I don't want to put you on the spot with that, but it's just one of those things where you do have such a pulse there. I figured, let's ask you about it now and just get your insights on it.
I do know that Madison County does a great job for us. So I'm not.
No.
And I wasn't doing that at all. They do a great job. But here's the deal. Those are conversations, CJ. If we're not having conversations, so maybe you talk to Sergeant Weller and we say, hey, guess what? Maybe can we take a look at this? I'm sure that they will do that. And again, being a mayor, if I'm fortunate enough and the citizens are kind enough to give me this opportunity, I do listen to everyone. And the great part about me is, I'm always open-minded. I have views on a lot of different things, but listen, I love information all the time.
Well, and I really appreciate it because, and honestly, I don't really get that too pointed on questions, but it's really good to know that, hey, I didn't send you a list of questions ahead of time and say, here's what I'm asking you.
Yep.
I think that's how we really get to know you as a candidate. We've been talking for about 40 minutes. What's the best way for, and it's good because you set the tone, so that means every other candidate gets 40 minutes. You have set the pace now, Craig Lombardi.
You talk for hours with you, but
what's the best way for folks to learn more about who you are, your platform, and just get to know you?
Well, that's a great question. I should have been prepared more with that. I am going to probably have a Facebook page coming out here to learn more about me. I do not have that out there just now. This is probably my first way of getting out to know.
First.
There you go.
That's
so,
right.
But I will probably have a Facebook page and we'll go through the stages of that. So I do not have that currently.
Well, we have some time. we have some time. Not a lot, but we have some time.
Yeah.
Mr. Lombardi, always great talking to you.
Yeah, I love it, CJ.
As the campaign keeps trickling along, the platform's always open to get the word out, and thanks for your time again.
You're awesome. Appreciate you, buddy.
No problem.
Thanks,
the time
CJ.
is 10:20. A little bit of change on this Friday morning. We'll take a quick break, and Stephanie Schraggy's got some explaining to do. She missed our interview on Tuesday, or was it Wednesday? Hell, I don't know. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back, talk for a little bit, and then Stephanie will join us at 10:30.